Hi, I'm Kevin Irvine, and I'm a disability rights advocate. I'm going to tell you about light, rapid, and commuter rail service and the rights of people with disabilities, including older adults with physical, sensory, mental, and cognitive impairments. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, is a civil rights law that protects the rights of people with disabilities when using public transportation. The ADA doesn't require that public transit be provided in every community where people live. However, if public rail service is provided, it must follow Title II of the ADA. The ADA covers rail cars, rail facilities, and rail services. Providers of light and rapid rail service must also provide ADA paratransit service for people with disabilities who cannot use the rail system all or some of the time. There are 4 types of public rail service: light, rapid, commuter, and intercity, but I'm going to focus on the first 3. Light rail means a streetcar type vehicle operated on city streets. Service may be provided by step entry vehicles or by level boarding. Rapid rail, sometimes referred to as metro, subway, or heavy rail, is a subway-type transit vehicle railway operated on separate tracks with high-level platform stations. Rapid rail also may operate on elevated or at-grade level track separated from other traffic. Commuter rail is short-haul rail passenger service operating in urban and suburban areas, sometimes across the boundaries of a state, usually characterized by reduced fare, multiple ride, and commuter tickets, and by morning and evening peak period operations. Intercity rail is the name for the transportation provided by Amtrak. All rail stations built since 1992 are required to be fully accessible to people with disabilities with ramps and/or elevators. When the ADA became law in 1990, rail systems were required to identify key stations that would be made accessible by 1993. The deadline for specific key stations could be extended if unusually expensive modifications were needed. Light and rapid rail station deadlines could be extended to 2020. Commuter rail station deadlines could be extended to 2010. When alterations are performed at existing non-key rail stations, accessibility must be added to the altered part of the station to the maximum extent feasible, and only if the cost of adding accessibility doesn't exceed 20% of the cost of the project. Accessible light, rapid, and commuter rail cars must have 32-inch wide doorways and priority seating marked for people with disabilities. Light and rapid rail cars must have at least 2 areas marked for people who use wheelchairs and other mobility devices, with a minimum clear floor space of 30 by 48 inches and a 32-inch wide clear route to the mobility device areas. Commuter rail cars are only required to have 1 area for people who use mobility devices. If an accessible commuter rail car has a restroom, then it must be accessible to people who use mobility devices. Anyone who asks may use a rail car's lift or ramp, whether they have an obvious disability or not. Rail personnel are not required to help with transfers, lifting, or carrying packages or bags. However, they must help with getting on and off the train when needed. On all types of rail service, stops must be announced at transfer points with other fixed routes and at major intersections and destination points. They also must be announced regularly enough along a route so people with disabilities can be oriented to their location and clearly and loud enough to be heard throughout the rail car. Each transit agency must ensure that its workers are trained appropriately. This means that they must be trained in how to use and maintain accessibility features and equipment, boarding assistance, and securement of mobility devices if available. They also should be trained in the requirements of the ADA and in sensitive and appropriate interaction with passengers with disabilities. Where vehicles for more than one route serve the same stop, the transit agency must provide a way that a person who is blind or has low vision can identify the right vehicle to enter. Service animals are permitted to accompany people with disabilities in rail cars and rail facilities. Transit agencies must keep accessibility equipment like elevators working and fix it quickly if it breaks. If something does break, they must try to accommodate people with disabilities who need accessibility. It's not a violation of the ADA if something isn't working every once in a while, but if it happens regularly, then it might be. Information about rail service must be provided in accessible formats such as Braille, large print, or an accessible electronic format upon request. What can you do if you have a disability-related problem with rail service? First and most important is to let the rail agency know about any problems. If you can, make your complaint in writing, email or letter. Give them as much information as possible, details about what happened, rail car and badge numbers, route, date, time, location. Keep a copy of whatever you send for your records. For more information about this and other topics, contact Equip for Equality at 800-537-2632 or visit equipforequality.org. Thank you.